Bienvenue dans le Cloud Screener, le podcast qui navigue parmi les nuages. Je suis comme d'habitude avec mon acolyte Monsieur Jérôme Blin. Bonjour Jérôme.
Salut à tous, salut Anthony.
Et je suis aussi avec Stéphane. Hi Stéphane.
Hey Anthony, hey everyone.
Euh, Comme vous avez pu l'entendre, notre interlocuteur est anglophone, donc je vais vous sortir mon meilleur anglais. Donc on y va. One, two, three, c'est parti. Small introduction. So nowadays we are exactly in the AI wave. There were the first checks a few years ago, doing more or less simple things, image classification, object detection, and more and more. Basically, the things took a bunch of number and output another bunch of number. But as you may know, the latest evolution in the AI field after deep learning is generative AI and LLM. And from a technical person perspective, it's a bit a war because you can hear that it will take our job or it cannot take our job. You can hear that I can already not understand my customer, so why an AI could do that? You can hear that some people use it in a daily basis. There are plenty of opinions, in fact. From a technical perspective, of course. From a business perspective, there is no war. It's just a shortcut to reach your goal. And from a provider perspective, I don't really know. And that's why today I wanted to explore with you the how to play with LLM service, with cloud provider, installing, training, deploying a large model in production. And to obtain this expertise, I was looking for the best. And in my radar, the best was Stefan. And so I would like to introduce you, Stefan, or just let Stefan introduce by himself. Hi, Stefan. Could you introduce you?
Gladly. So my name is Stefan Ojanen. I'm originally from Helsinki, now living in Berlin. Currently, I serve as the Director of Product Management at Genesis Cloud, cloud for the European Cloud for AI. And additionally, I do advise, consult, and speak about AI in various events. I do have a decade of experience with AI. This is from the time when we didn't talk AI yet. We talk about machine learning, and have also done 6 years in product management. And I would say like the highlights of my career is I had one exit from Mesh Group. That's where I started with machine learning applications in fintech. And then another exit from an explainable AI startup, Scorable, that got acquired by Bond IT, after which I then joined Genesis Cloud. And besides AI, I'm passionate about DJing and road cycling, so not only models.
Okay. And so you are talking about Genesis Cloud, which is your company, the company where you
Yes.
work. Um, I know who you are, of course, but I think our audience don't know exactly. Can you give us some details about who is Genesis?
Yeah, Genesis Cloud is been around since 2018. Personally, I joined in 2021. That was around the time we had just released the product. So we are an infrastructure as a service provider who focuses on GPUs, and our main use case is AI. But of course, AI is not the only thing GPUs are good for. Other popular use cases are your traditional HPC, and then of course rendering. And this is, yeah, of course, where the GPUs originally come from. Someone just at some point realized that actually the mathematics, the matrix multiplications that you need to do AI are very similar. You need to do or you do to calculate 3D graphics.
Exact, yeah. Exact.
And and
Yeah,
maybe
go
to
ahead.
add like so, Genesis Cloud has a little bit similar background to CoreView. So we come from in a way from the mining side, because GPUs were also used for that. And but then the owners of the Genesis Group had the wisdom to diversify away from the mining business and do something more sophisticated. And I think the hype was not there when I joined yet. It definitely was not there when Genesis Cloud was established. But I think now it's very well positioned to um, enabling many people to work on AI and have access to quality compute that we offer.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Aside from the compute, the hardware, I would like to notice that Genesis Cloud has two data centers, if I remember well. One in Germany, one in Iceland. And it's a good thing to have a data center in Iceland from my perspective because basically the energy that you can create in Iceland comes from geothermy in French. I don't know the word in
Mm-hmm.
English, but so
Yeah.
there is no CO2 emission from any kind of watt used in the data center in Germany. And from for a GPU consumer that you know that you will have just one card between 30 and 300 watts per second per hour, excuse me. It's a good thing to know that.
Mm.
So yeah,
So I could add like it's absolutely correct that we do have data centers in Iceland and Germany. The German one is not where we put our customers, it's actually where we do our testing and development. And Iceland is the first point of presence we had. It's kind of like it's not only the energy, it's also the proximity. It's kind of distance-wise, it's between Europe and mainland US. So
mm.
latency is roughly equivalent. But since then we have opened 2 points of presence in Norway already. So
Oh,
we have two additional data centers in Norway that is has similar benefits. So it's not geothermal energy in Norway, but it's hydropower. It's not quite as good, but almost as good, right? And while you basically have free energy, it's not 100% carbon free. You still need to account for the building of the plants,
yeah.
the disassembly of the plants and such. But basically, the variable cost of producing in emissions wise is close to zero per megawatt in both hydro and geothermal.
Okay. And when you say we open a new data center, do you build the building or do you rent a location in a data center provider, or how do you manage at Genesis Cloud to have a new region, new location?
Yeah, so building a data center is completely its own industry. So we
Mm.
are co-located in someone else's data center.
Yeah, easier to get certification with colocation, yeah, than doing all the security, all the certification, all the granting and conformance. Yeah, for sure, it's another job. You mentioned that you are in the ML field since 10 years, close to 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes something like 3 years. I know you, I
Mm-hmm.
met you. And maybe 1 year ago, you released something very interesting in the tsunami of the GPT 4, 3, 4.5 and Gemini, etc. You released a GPT model which is called MemeGPT. I don't know if in English we say meme or whatever, but
Yeah.
it's meme for me. So you release a new kind of AI, MemeGPT, where you get a prompt and it answers by a meme. And I really would like to discuss about it with you. So before to ask any question about that, could you explain what is it? Where does it come from? Why did you have this idea? And how it works, etc.
Yeah. Let's start with the idea. It's really about I've created a lot of memes. Some of them are more viral than others. So let's say that I've been enthusiastic about memes for quite some time. But then when ChatGPT came out, I was, of course, like really exploring this tool and, interested in the capabilities of GPT-3 because they were widely better than GPT-2, for example. And one of the things that I tested was does it understand a meme? So if I basically asked it to explain a specific meme template, and I was like, okay, Like it actually knew about the template, and then I would ask it to create a meme. So basically, add text, potentially add text to the picture that is the template. And then I concluded that the first try, not great. Second try, a little bit better. I said, okay, like it there's something there, but it's just not funny, right? So we had to do better. And then I was thinking, like, now when we have this beautiful transformer technology for language models, maybe if we could do our own version that's specialized then for understanding the type of humor that is required to generate funny memes. And I would say I think it's fundamental for every AI or machine learning project is that you have sufficient training data to work on for the algorithm to learn on. So then the next question was, okay, where do we find a lot of memes in a machine readable format? And I did reach out then to Dylan from ImageFlip, because I
Yep.
figured that ImageFlip has the most memes, and they really do have millions of memes. And yeah, we've used that. We then explored various open source algorithms, then to fine tune those based on this data to generate some results. And yeah, we created many models. Yeah, some better than others, and ultimately we ended up leveraging our best machines. So an NVIDIA H100, so 8 times H100, quite of a beast of a machine. Then to fine tune a Llama 2 70 billion, so the larger version of the Llama 2 models on this, and we got really amazing results. I would say, like, before this, I would say three out of four generated memes would be like actually funny. With the llama model, I would say almost pretty much all of them are really funny, and it's really amazing how it captures the essence of the meme and all the meta context that's embedded to embedded and required to make those funny. And at the moment, we are then, which is also very typical for many projects. So in a way, like, you can think of GPT-4 often, if you build your own AI solution, as a playground. It might be, or often is, economically, for example, unfeasible to consume the OpenAI API. In our case, it wasn't about the cost; it was about the quality. And then actually this story became like a talk that, okay, if you want to do something very specific and you do have the data, there are very capable open source models that you can fine tune to be really great at something specific. While GPT-4 is pretty good at almost anything, it's not great at everything. And MemeGPT is what really shows that, yeah, you just take an open source model, you have the data, you fine tune it, and you get something much better and much more cheaper as well.
Great. And in your way to create this model or to
Mm.
fine-tune this model, did you keep in mind that it must have the sense of the humor, or do you keep in mind that it should follow some rule and do not go outside of these rules? How do you because I'm not a data scientist at all or ML engineer, and I train some AI, and when I trace the AI, I keep in mind that okay, I would like to do this, and this, but at the end, it's just try and retry, try, fail, retry and retry, and try to draw some border on what I'm doing to understand what I'm doing. And so here, you that have already the experience, what is the main thing that you keep in mind when you train, when you fine-tuning your AI?
Yeah, so of course, like, initially our goal was simply we optimized only for one thing, which was to have a high quality output in terms of our subjective assessment, basically mine and my colleague's subjective assessment of what's funny and what's true to the kind of heritage of that specific meme. So and now yeah, yeah, I kind of finished the point from the last. So it's typical for every AI project to use these large models, whether it's like a 70 billion parameter Llama 2 or GPT-4, to use them as like testing ground and then find a more economical solution. And for example, running and serving this 70 billion model is not going to be feasible. So we are now trying to find an alternative model to fine tune that will be smaller. And I think that one of the most promising ones, it's been around for some while now, is the Mistral 7 billion. So in many benchmarks, it provides Llama 2 70 billion level performance with 10% of the size, and running a 7, yeah. And so this is the goal, that we get similar results from a fine-tuned smaller model. So that's one of the things, like just optimize the efficiency of then serving the model. And then of course it's the topic that you say is like putting guardrails on the model. So of course, memes encapsulate a lot what's in the internet. There's there's a lot of explicit content in the internet. There's a lot of questionable meme content. In a way, the database is not very filtered. It is what it is, and then it's one part of productizing the model is also then add elements to it that it doesn't um, that
Yeah.
it's aligned with the ethical standards we all are expected to adhere to. Yeah, and this is called guard railing, and this is very very important that we identify when the output is toxic or considered, because in a way, the main difference from like engineering traditional software and developing AIs is that computers are really stupid. When you program something, you need to be extremely explicit to make it do anything.
Mhm.
While now with these large language models, and it's not that we haven't had language models before, but the new thing with these large language models is that as we kept, like in the past, I've worked with something like word to vector. It would be just like two-layer neural network. Is basically just to create an embedding, make
Mm.
a word a number, so you can do some computation on that. But
Yep.
then no one realized that once you start making like these networks deeper and you make it big enough, all of a sudden a performance would just like jump at some point. Like all of a sudden it can do math. All of a sudden it seems to be able to do good reasoning. And
Mhm.
and and this wasn't anything that anyone was expecting from what is fundamentally like your next word prediction in your phone keyboard, like trying to say, but like you write I, but is the most likely next word I am, right? So like that this technology can actually become so powerful, and I would say, like, yeah, for the first time humanity has built something where we build it, and then we were able to give lots of people access to it, and then only discover what are the capabilities, instead of like targeting a set of capabilities and then having hundreds of engineers to work to achieve those
Mm.
capabilities. So that's the paradigm shift for me with this type of technologies. So yeah, point is, when you build an AI, you don't really know what you get. And then you kind of need to have, of course, fine tuning helps with alignment, but then you kind of want like additional systems. So I like to talk about AI systems, then around it to say like, okay, say something, evaluate the output, is this toxic? Is this a bad thing to say? Is this illegal thing to say, for example? Yeah.
Okay. You just said that it's difficult to put ChatGPT 70B in production, and I can imagine why, just because that's a lot of RAM for a lot of GPU. And if I get to serve 1,000 people per day, it can cost a lot, especially for doing memes. So, Am I wrong or not? The problem will be that it's hard to handle ChatGPT at the end more than Mistral, which is smaller.
Yeah, yeah. So just the distinction. So like ChatGPT now runs GPT-4 or
Mhm.
3.5 for the, and
Oh,
then we have
Llama,
we have
excuse
the
me.
we have
Yeah,
the
continue.
Llama 2 70 billion. So yeah,
Yeah.
it is absolutely expensive. So ChatGPT like GPT-4 is even it's way bigger than 70 billion. So these are absolutely expensive things to run and serve, and that is the motivation to go smaller. Yeah.
Okay. And just for my information, because I think I will need to put AI beside an HTTP and create a web server. Bref, an AI, you will see that later. But if I put, let's say, a Llama 70B in, and I would like to make a chat agent with only, let's say, one NVIDIA 100, A100. Um, will I be able to serve more than five people at the same time? Or really the GPU has the constraint and just can handle one request at a time?
Mm. So um, there's a concept called batching,
Mhm.
and it's not really about the number of people you serve, it's how many requests you handle.
Mm.
So I think like I've seen it with my own eyes that I open a new chat on ChatGPT, and there's actually a prompt already that absolutely not written by me. I think it was about writing a invoice for a plumber or something, and it was giving the answer. So yeah, something got crossed. So yeah, if there are any concerns about enterprise use of this, there's a completely valid. Okay, how can something like this happen? It's because there's no isolation, right? So there are multiple people using the same model, and they are sharing it. And then there's a concept of patching. So like the larger, I think it's like it becomes like a trade-off. So you can like batch basically request to the model,
Mhm.
and but the thing is, larger batches give you better efficiency. But then again, this increases your inference time. So it
Mm.
increases latency to the model. And if you want the lowest latency, then you want batches of one. So it will just like shoot, basically consume the model in individual batches. But then this doesn't really load up the system completely. And that's the challenge. And then what you can like basically then the kind of infrastructure or the underlying hardware or server that you need to run a specific model, it's mainly defined so by the parameter count. There are many other factors to it. For example, at GC we have built a calculator, so from first principles. So when you have all the information about the neural network that you want to run, we actually we are able to calculate the required memory to support our customers and their computing needs. But the parameter count is mainly, and then ultimately what you have is, okay, when you load the model, how much CPU memory it has,
Mm.
and you can in general, you want to keep your model within one GPU because things do get lower when you do inference with multiple GPUs. But this is also like as long as you're within one machine, this is still very much okay. And for example, to inference this 70 billion model Llama 2, one H100 is with 80 gigs is not nearly enough. We basically need almost a full machine for this, like we do for fine tuning. And when you have really big models like GPT-4, I think the inference is shared between, if I remember correctly, there is no like direct information, only rumors, but I think the inference is shared between 128 H100s or something like that. Yeah, I think and that this is 16 hosts basically. And of course,
Mm.
then they probably do put thousands of users on each of these kind of inference clusters. but definitely multi-node inference is already a thing. But yeah,
Okay.
everything is dependent on the model size that you are running.
Yeah. And also for now, yeah, it's an interesting question. I was thinking for now, not a lot of people are using giant model with more than 100 billion parameter. But I see two things. The natural evolution would be in 2028, we have 1 trillion parameter models.
Mm,
Or maybe we can go in the Mistral way, where with less parameter we do a better job. Or maybe also another question would be we can go in the Grok side, Grok, which is another LLM model, but they are also using their own hardware, which is, I
mm-hmm,
think, the LTU or something like LPU or something like that.
mm-hmm.
And so, what do you think in these three ways the humanity will choose? Maybe the three ones, but it could be the linear one where we just increase the number of parameter. It could be the Grok way,
Mm.
or it could be the other way with a more efficient model like Mistral.
I think we see everything. So like seeing something like Mistral perform so well, I think this is algorithmic development, and it's also like data set development.
Mm,
Um, we also see, like, of course we have better algorithms that are simply more efficient, like Mistral clearly is. Then we have development on the trading data. So what we have seen, I think, from start of the year or already at the end of the year was this synthetic data set. So I think they use
mm,
GPT-4 to generate this mainly, but it's like basically an LLM has generated a conversation that is then used to fine tune existing open source models, and this is called the data set is called Capybara. Very cute animal. And now what I love to see when I go to Hugging Face, almost every model has a capybara version. And it's really interesting to see that they have managed to create a data set that you fine tune any existing model, and it basically becomes better at everything by learning from this discussion, which is actually AI generated as I understand. I'm not sure if there are human generated parts in it, but if I remember correctly, it's actually LLM generated as well. And then I think and one thing that's important is quantization. So
yeah.
we are going to lower precisions all the time. So for example, for the MemeGPT, we use 4-bit quantization already to be able to fit this for even the 70 billion parameter model onto the host. And now what we have seen is this 1.5-bit. So I haven't seen any models based on this, but you're basically having the beauty of this is like that because most of the computation that's required when you handle this AI models is matrix multiplication. But
Mhm.
with this 1.1.5-bit quantization, every parameter is not like a value like 0.98 or how much you can store in 4 bits. Or because like what we started with was like FP16, so we have like 16 bits, and then we go down to 8, and then we
Mm,
are down to 4. And now 1.5 is like it's really the bare minimum because the value of any weight is going to be 1, 0, or -1, and this will simplify things a lot. Um, so there's a lot of promise in that. I still wait to see a model actually using this and working.
mm,
So we will see. So, but yeah, and then finally is what you say about Grok. So this is like more specialized hardware. So
mm,
for example, at Genesis Cloud, um, we absolutely love NVIDIA and NVIDIA hardware, but the thing there is like I think there's a fundamental trade-off. It's a little bit like going from a CPU to GPU. Is that CPU is a general processing unit, right?
mm.
Ironically, like. but GPU is graphics processing unit, but it's more specialized. You cannot calculate everything on GPU. You can calculate with the CPU. It's just the instruction set is much more simplified. But what you can calculate with the GPU is much more efficient. And I think there is another leap to be made, which is these Grok style accelerators. And what we actually do offer Genesis are Gaudi 2. So this is a deep learning processor. You cannot render on a Gaudi 2, but it is very, very efficient. And I can say that, for example, like when we fine-tuned the MemeGPT, the fine-tuning time with an full H100 was 16 hours around, and with the Gaudi 2 it was 12 hours. So we actually saw better absolute performance on a host like this. And Grok has of course taken this to another level. So they haven't built hardware that's only specialized for deep learning, but they have undertaken the challenge and built something that's specialized for LLMs only. And
Yeah.
I think they, because GPUs have one fundamental weakness for the that's kind of exposed from the way LLMs work, is that because you're always just trying to predict the next token, the next word, you cannot start working on the coming up word before you actually figure out what's your next word. So the problem with this is that you cannot really parallelize the workload,
Yeah.
and this is actually the strength of the GPU. So of course you have things like you can parallelize other things. You can have multiple models on the same GPU. You can have you can put multiple users on the same GPU, etc. But what Grok has done, it's super interesting because they have really optimized for this type of a calculation where it's very, very sequential, and yeah, just trying it out, the speed is absolutely stunning, and yeah, they've really done something beautiful there. Yeah, and I think one of their major achievements is that they also sorted out the software stack. So it seems to be pretty well compatible because they're able to run all meaningful models. And yeah, I think they've done a good job. I would
So
be.
basically, I can go to Grok with my PyTorch, my sklearn, and all the existing framework using NVIDIA hardware.
Not using NVIDIA hardware. I think you wanna use
No, no,
Grok
no,
hardware.
no. I
What?
was saying that I can use the software
You
which
use for
generally
NVIDIA
use.
hardware.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so as I understand, so I have not tried. I have not tried it. I haven't programmed on Grok myself, but I do understand that they have a full PyTorch compatibility. Yeah, I guess
Okay,
also
nice.
TensorFlow. So I'm
Yeah,
personally a little
yeah.
bit more on the TensorFlow, but that's on its way out, and PyTorch is what matters these days.
Okay, thank you. I think talking about Grok, I feel a question from Jerome. I know that he has Grok in his pocket, but I hope you get other questions, Jerome.
I have question.
For sure.
Basic questions, but question interesting and basic but hard. What is your favorite meme? Meme.
What is my favorite meme?
Hard. Very hard.
Yes. One of your
I
favorites.
would I would say it's probably Velociraptor.
Philosopheraptor?
Yeah, Velociraptor.
I don't
It's it's a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Um and it's a dinosaur that has some deep but often dumb considerations. So they are often like puns. And I create, if you do Google Velociraptor meme, most
Yes.
likely in the first page, you will find one or two that are by me. I won't tell you which ones. But I just love the, yeah, you like it's often like if for the first kind of oh this is stupid, but then you realize it's smart and then you just burst out laughing, right? And it's the type of humor I like. Yeah. And I think to be able to make a good Velociraptor meme, it requires some verbal intelligence for sure. And I'm personally very interested, so have always been since teenager, very interested in philosophy. So yeah, I think the kind of making fun of like very fundamental questions is something that appeals to me. And
Okay.
and it's actually a nice question because it's a bridge back to where MemeGPT started. It was Velociraptor meme that I actually tried it out. I asked, you know, what
It's
I
the
asked
origin of everything.
ChatGPT.
Like,
Yeah, I asked like, what is Velociraptor meme, and that's where it all started actually with for MemeGPT.
okay. So what humanly talking, let's say like this, what makes a good meme?
What makes a good meme? Yeah. I think it's like it's very difficult to. It requires a cultural context. I think that's like a starting point. Um, for example, people have asked me, will MemeGPT, you know, become multimodal? You know, would you generate a picture and then add text to it? Like I'm like, no, that makes no sense, right? It's if we just create a picture, then it lacks all the meta context. Unless that picture then describes something that already exists, but you could just take a screen capture of something that already exists, whether it's a movie or an event or whatever. It's hard to say how these things emerge. It would be interesting network analysis to track this, but I think it's really like at the cultural context that you are able to understand irony or sarcasm. A meme does not need to be ironic or sarcastic. It needs to be really nuanced, so it can play around with puns, and then yeah, somehow it needs to resonate with the subjective aspect of or and conviction that we all make. What is then funny? I don't think that any meme is funny to everyone. I think some memes are very funny in certain cultural contexts and completely inappropriate to a level that this is not funny at all in other cultures. So this is also something to
Yes,
remember.
there are
Yeah.
niche meme and meme more universal that can make laugh everyone, but there are very specific ones. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I will try to talk more about the AI in general as a non-technical guy, a totally lambda guy that know absolutely nothing, just how to do a prompt of simple prompt. Yesterday I watched a super movie. Enfin, super. A movie interesting. The creator, with my good French accent, the creator, it was in Europe, I guess it's on Hulu or Disney Plus or something like this. And it's a story that people love. It's a story where the human fight the AI. So there is a war between two worlds, the human American that fight the new Asia that believe AI should live with human, and that is considered as a human being, not a human being, but a being the equal.
Like sentient.
They call them stimulant, something like this, to do the distinction, but voilà, I say in French. How do you see the future? Basic question we asked a lot at the beginning of ChatGPT for the basic people that don't work on this area since 2 years. You have a much clearer, wiser, and better view that I guess 99.99999% in the world about the future of AI, even the present of AI and the past of AI. How do you see the thing will evolve for everyone, let's say like this?
So I used to say And it was just about these large language models that there is no threat at all, because these machines are, in a way, they are stateless, so they have no agenda. They're basically, and it's mathematically shown that every neural network can be expressed as a formula in theory, not in practice. So the thing is like, and what it means when it's stateless, it's basically every given input has.
Your sound cut, it looks.
Sorry.
It's
I was
okay.
muted.
It came back.
Yeah. So yeah, I used to say that because these algorithms were kind of stateless, so every given input would have a certain output. There was some noise added in between so that it wouldn't behave in this way, but in practice, these models were such. So unless you ask questions from them, they do nothing. But we are now actually moving away from that. We are starting to have what I call AI systems. So it's more like that the large language model or the language model is just in the middle of everything, but it uses tools, it can use like ChatGPT, it uses a Python interpreter, it uses a browser, it goes around the internet. And I think, and these are called AI agents. And now when we start to move into the direction where we give this AI agent or this AI system an objective, and then it starts to do multiple actions that are in a way undefined. So it's not like just a simple process tree. We start to talk about networks, so that it could basically search the internet infinite amount of times until it finds the answer it needs. But this could be in a way applied to some action that it would invoke some API as many times as needed to reach the goal it's set out to do. And I think this already starts to put us in a little bit into the realm is that, okay, if the model doesn't have proper guardrails on what it can do to achieve its objective, it could do something. And I think this goes very to the classical example is that, okay, you ask AI to save the planet, and then it just concludes that, okay, well, humans are consuming the planet, so I must
You have
destroy
to
all
kill.
humans.
Yeah.
So I think it's it's important to make sure that we understand what and have control over what then this AI and agents can do, so that they don't go into the internet, that they don't start hacking into people's AWS instances and making copies out of themselves or some smaller AIs, and then because something like this could even happen in the background, we would get like a sleeper network of AIs that there would be this choreography, because then the model is these agents are running, it's kind of like a normal program that basically a loop that's running all the time, instead of just waiting for a question to be answered. So yeah, I think there's some care that needs to be taken. Yeah, I think that's appropriate.
Okay. And so once again, everything depends on the humans before everything, I guess. Talking about this, do you think just in Europe, in USA, I don't know, in Asia, I don't know, but do you think politicians in Europe are aware of everything, or they just don't know as they try to follow what happened day by day about AI and the law with AI?
It's very hard for me to judge their understanding of AI. But I think they are making a mistake. I think trying to regulate something preemptively is not the right way on anything. I think we should see something to go wrong first before we regulate. Because I believe that the first AI incident is not gonna be that we will have a Terminator like scenario where it's the robots versus humans. And I think there's a good justification is like, for example, if you look at productivity growth, you compare Europe against US since 2008, we had the financial crisis. Basic productivity just jumped in the US while it slumped in Europe. There are many, let's say, basic central banks, they didn't do right, they didn't react on time. Again, with Corona, it was the same thing. In America, the productivity again rose, and we are so far behind. And I think the regulating things beforehand is just making things lower, because and I used to study. I actually started my career as an economist. So basically, if you regulate anything, you will just get less of it. And now when we are in Europe regulating AI, we will get less innovation and development on AI. I think it has not just direct impact, limiting on what you can do. It just makes everything you do more laborsome. And I think this will lead into the fact that many people don't even want to execute on their AI ideas here in Europe, but they rather move then to Silicon Valley or somewhere in America and set up their company there, where the environment is more less hostile against this development.
Yeah, okay. So first try, do the mistakes, etc. Build the thing strong, and after you make the law about it. Okay. Last question. More general, but is there? It's always interesting to know this about someone that is very expert in some areas. There are technologies you follow close, very close, that you will see maybe in the future that will have a good impact on our life, on our professional life, or both, or anything.
Other technologies, or how will AI affect?
New technologies, maybe common people don't know, even professionals don't know so much, or even someone don't believe at all, and you believe on this technology against all the world, or not, you just focus on what you do.
Yeah, I think like when I got started with machine learning, I was actually like not looking into machine learning. I had no idea. I was working as a risk analyst, building like these credit scoring models in finance, and I tried to solve a practical problem. We had so many models to maintain that it was just too heavy, like the classic, do it like the traditional way. But I was able to solve it with using machine learning, and I was like, wow, like, okay, in 3 seconds now my code will actually do what takes an analyst a full day. And I was like, okay, there's really something. And coincidentally at this time, also we had the first image recognition algorithms achieving superhuman performance, so beating actually humans. I guess it was the Stanford dogs dataset, so like just telling which breed of a dog this is. Like, so a lot of the early days of AI development was just about telling dogs apart from each other. But yeah, I got really enthusiastic, and I really understood, like, okay, if you can, if these things are so good with numbers, and they are so good with like images, for me the visual space is very complex already. I already made the conviction that this is actually going to change the world in all possible ways. And I think of course, I've been dismissed with my thoughts, yes, Stefan, you and your nerdy things, sounds interesting, but whatever. But I think now the advent of ChatGPT really showed. And it's not that we haven't had these language models before, right? Now we just have a good UI. Everyone can access this, right? You don't need to run it on a cloud instance or a powerful PC, and you write Python code and get response, or like do your own UI for it. First time we had like a real product that's easy to consume, right? And now people really see how fantastic these are. And we've had these things for a long time, right? So before we had transformers, which is like what was really the breakthrough that made like GPT-3 so nice. We had long short-term memory models, and this is where your Google Translate is based on. This is what Alexa is based on. And now when you're kind of used to ChatGPT, you can write, you can make typos, you can even a little bit, you can just write bad language and it will still understand what you mean. And then I don't have Alexa at home, but when I hear my people trying to ask them to put the lights off, etc., it makes so many mistakes, and I'm just waiting. These contemporary language technologies come part of the smart home tools, and yeah, I really believe that people don't really see like how many things that they actually use are enabled by all kinds of AI technologies. And yeah, there will be just more to come. And yeah, I don't really also think that ultimately it's just another tool. So I think if your job is very simple and repetitive, it has been subject to automation always. It's not that we haven't had automated factories for quite some time. Now it's like the knowledge work, which can also be repetitive. It's like reading information, inputting it from another system. Maybe it requires to do some judgment. So now the language models can have judgment, so they can do kind of decisions in an ambiguous environment, which was not really possible for like traditional digital systems, which were more like, okay, if this is true, then do that, and if it's well, you can go pretty deep with this, like it's nice that with an LLM you just don't have to explicitly be aware of all the possibilities that might happen. It can still make the judgment, but ultimately I think it's like if you're really worried about someone taking your job or AI taking your job, it won't be AI taking your job. It will be someone using AI to make themselves much more productive in your job, who will then get the job, not an AI itself. And you might ask why, and there's a very simple reason. It's the same analogy as with John Cleese, this British actor, said about stupidity. To understand that you are stupid requires actually the same talent that makes you smart. So and this is true with like if you're a creative professional and you're worried that AI will take your job. The thing is, you still need to create the output of the AI, and to be able to create the output of the AI for any professional task, you basically need pretty much the same skills as you need to create that output. It's just that instead of like creating everything yourself from scratch, now you are basically getting the AI can show you options, and you can just say, okay, you go through 20 and okay, this is it, this is what we will work on. But to have that judgment and have an opinion, have an educated opinion about what's good and what's not, and what's right, what's wrong. Yeah, I think there's still room for that, and these are the exact same skills as today. Yeah, it's just another tool fundamentally.
Yeah, last question. I'm sorry, Anthony. Just last little question. Is there some tools, AI tools you use every day? I don't know, ChatGPT to do your list of tasks, or I don't know what other like catalog that it's tools that make your own dashboard about job, these kind of things, or you are pretty classic, let's say like this, or more geek?
Yeah, I used to work. I used to use ChatGPT for work every single day. At the moment, it's on pause as we are transitioning to the enterprise version because of security reasons. So not using it for work at the moment, but I do use it for personal projects, and it's not only ChatGPT. So I use ChatGPT, and I have my own version of that, which is ProfoundGPT, which is I discovered some biases in ChatGPT that I didn't like, so I basically listed something like 150 thinkers that I do, and I ask it to kind of mirror their thinking and style. So I actually made a version that's biased to my own beliefs. So I mainly use that version. Check it out, ProfoundGPT. You can find it from GPT Store. Then I do use Gemini because it has better RAG abilities. You can give it YouTube videos. It's better at handling external content than ChatGPT is. Yeah, I think they have also some bias, like some bias issues. Even the word bias, I kind of hate that because okay, I can say like Profound is biased to something that I like. I hate just the word unbiased, which I think was like the scandal around Gemini, because I'm yet to see a definition of what unbiased means. So, unless it's defined, it's hard to go for that. And then I use Cloud. I think Cloud is like, it's really bad at the rack, so it cannot really do that much, but it just writes the nicest. So like for pure text-to-text interaction, then Claude is for me absolutely the best.
Okay.
And it's, yeah. So yeah, I use them a lot for personal stuff. I can say like it's not even just work. It's actually recently I had an argument with my girlfriend, and then we had a long discussion, kind of resolving that argument. And what we ended up doing is that we put this WhatsApp chat into ChatGPT, and the how it explained the situation and who might have been wrong in what, and at that they ended the argument. There was nothing to say. We were both okay, like we agreed. That's it. So some very cheap relationship therapy as well, highly recommended. I will keep using that. Yeah, there are many uses. Yeah, I think it's like more you use these tools, the better they are. And one of the early things I discovered is like that these are subjectivist. If you give a language model a very vague question, you get a vague answer. But the more specific you are, the more context you give it, the more precise you are about what you want, how you want the output to be, the better the answer also gets. So just keep trying, challenge yourself, and that's how you discover the power of these tools.
Yep. To bump on what you are saying, in fact, we are not losing our job. We all become managers.
Yes, yes.
After, maybe we are bad at managing humans, but maybe we are good at managing robots. So it's another world. Let's see. Um, let's make a role game. Let's say I'm Jean-Claude. I'm a guy with plenty of ideas, and I see the GPT wave, and I say, okay, I have to launch a SaaS or a web or a iOS application to make money. Let's try to sell some AI without knowledge. So, first thing I'm wondering, um, is it really profitable to think about go to the cloud, take an AI, and mount a GPT for any kind of thing? Yeah, let's say I'm Jean-Claude and I would like to make a GPT that help people that go to vacation. So let's say I will go to Thailand or to Morocco next week. I will install the application and it will help me in the different stage of my trip. Is it really profitable, at least at the beginning of my startup, to rent a GPU, make the training, and serve the service to people? Is it really affordable now, or should we wait 1 year, 2 years to launch small services like that? I don't talk about large things, really a startup that I have an idea.
I think like if you're able to run the infrastructure yourself, like that's already like advanced. But I think like a lot of the AI startups that we see, I'm quoting Y Combinator here, but these are like basically GPT wrappers referring to OpenAI's API. So that they use the either the GPT 3.5 or the GPT 4. They might use as they are. They might have a fine-tuned version out of it, and then they use this as the AI backend and build things on top of that and around it. And I absolutely believe, even though it's like, I think OpenAI API pricing is relatively expensive. If you host it yourself, let's say you are able to work with a smaller model that runs on a single GPU, I think I did like math using a one type of Genesis Cloud instance and a singular GPU, that it was something like 100 times more expensive to do the same thing with OpenAI API. So there's considerable cost savings, but I do believe that so much value can be created that I think people can pay and pay you enough that the OpenAI cost can be covered. And I think the coolest AI companies that make the best out of let's say GPT-4, they're only being built right now. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're only getting started. Yeah.
Okay. And so I am a vacation expert, so I know a lot of location. And I take ChatGPT 4 or I take Llama 2, one of the three models, and I need to train it to answer precisely to vacation questions. Since the beginning, you are mentioning fine-tuning. You also mentioned RAG. So from what I understand, there are several and thousands of techniques to give more context to an AI and be able to do more than it's able to do at the beginning. But for the context of me, Jean-Claude, who launching its startup, should I do fine-tuning, RAG, or how can I train my AI to answer precisely to my business?
So the beauty of LLMs is that it like all of these kind of like foundational models or these bigger models, they've been trained on a massive corpus of data. You know, they've seen half of the internet. They've learned from a lot of books that have been written. They've seen code. They've seen a lot of scientific articles. They've probably seen a couple of Lonely Planets as well, and some other travel guides. And they roughly compress this information like 100 to 1, right? So and so there is like this fundamental knowledge there, and it really depends how specific you need to be. I've actually used this use case. I went for a conference in Zurich, and we basically wanted to walk from the hotel in the center to the conference place, and I asked ChatGPT to create a walking tour, and it was fine. But then, so it understood enough about Zurich to work, and this was basically just prompt. So prompt engineering alone. So this is the easier. You just use the out of the model as is, and you kind of have a pre-prompt, and that is then combined with the actual user prompt together, and this can achieve the behavior that you want from the model. I would say, but the challenge here is it's also very volatile. Very small changes in the text can really affect the output a lot. So the next step is then fine-tuning. So fine-tuning is that you basically give it, or one way to fine-tune is that you give it examples. So for a specific answer, you know, what should the prompt be, right? Or for a specific prompt, what should the answer be? You can also do it the other way around. If you want a specific answer, what should the prompt be? It works both ways. You can use a model to create data sets like this. And so this is then with relatively little data, so data that you could create by hand, let's say some hundreds of examples, 1,000 examples, you can fundamentally affect how the model behaves by default, without actually losing the
general knowledge.
The general understanding it already has, right? In general, you don't train these things from scratch, you know, like you take something with the general knowledge and then but then you like, I think before RAG, this was the only way that we could have is like prompt engineering plus fine-tuning. But the challenge with this is the volatility of it. So very small change.
What does that mean?
So you change like you go from double quotation from a single quotation, and the answer looks completely different, right? Even though the meaning is exactly the same, but because the math has changed a little bit in the background, the answer comes out different. So what RAG then enables, and and like ChatGPT looking the internet, this is RAG. It's retrieval augmented generation. So you put something in the context window of the model, right? So I used to put documents, I would just copy paste and put like a lot of context in ChatGPT and ask questions about that, and like use this information and then ask something that kind of taps into general information, and use that to kind of zero in the model on something specific, something I know that's actually a fact, you know, because I provided it the facts, right? And I think this helps. So for example, if you're for your travel planning, you want it to refer to some very specific information. Maybe it's not public information that you have about resorts, about tours. It could be pricing. It could be just something that the LLM wouldn't know. You absolutely want a RAG for this to retrieve it. Yeah, and there's been like, of course, like all of last year was really I think that's where we are at the moment. All of last year was very much about vector databases, because this is not the only way to do RAG, but a very natural way to do RAG. And I think now we are starting to see one of my favorite toolkits is then DSPy. So this starts to be a little bit more like you build. So I start like to talk about not just like making an LLM work in a specific way, but you engineer. So now we're actually not just doing something and getting what we get, like I said before, but DSPy enables us to work with the primitives of these models. So it's not I really see the industry moving away from having this one model to do it all that's fine-tuned to perfection and it just does everything right, into having a system which is composed of multiple models. It can have multiple versions that are fine-tuned in a different way of the same model, or that have a different type of a pre-prompt, you know, to the same model. And it can have different loops, and it can have logic, either classical kind of decision tree type logic, or sorry, flowchart type logic, or then LLM based logic also, then which models to consume, how many times, etc. And I think this is where we are going, and DSPy is a very interesting project, giving you tools for that. I think it's like the next step from LangChain.
Exactly, because I'm not the kind of guy who loved math in school, and so you can feel it 20 years after now. And I'm doing RAG in the meantime, like you said, with a vector database. I use agent, etc. And after 1 or 2 weeks of playing with that, what I'm thinking is that at the end, if I would like to make it simple, I would say that with the RAG, you are creating a dynamic pre-prompt,
Yes.
or you programmatically create the pre-prompt.
Yes, that's a good analogy.
And if I could read that on the documentation since the beginning, it would help me a lot. But I understood that after that. And yes, as you said, it's not about getting an AI doing everything. It's about having a set of a model doing precisely and efficiently what they are doing. So if I drop a PDF to my LLM, it should be able to say, okay, in this PDF, there is a table. I should read a table like this. There is an image. I should read an image like this. And then from what I do, I store the information that it read in my vector database and let the LLM get the data. But we are really in a way that during the previous year, there was all the copywriter that was saying you can do a business with DPT. You just have to mastering the pre-prompt. And now we are going back to the developers and say to the Python or the Rust or the C developer, yeah, you can do crazy pre-prompt without being a copywriter. So it's you are confirming what I was saying that with the RAG, you just take a developer and you say, okay, you are a powerful pre-prompt engineer, basically.
Yeah,
But,
you can say
but
that.
you do not need to have the machine learning knowledge at the full machine learning knowledge at the end. You don't need to understand matrix multiplication and things like
No,
that.
no.
It's really about talking about the AI, creating the pre-prompt. And what disturbed me a bit is that as a developer, I create a function, I get an input, an output, and I can easily predict the input, the output. Here, I will have an AI looking at my CSV, creating a pre-prompt, put that in the prompt, give it to another AI that will understand everything and give me the output. It works, but as a developer, I don't really know if I'm really on a stable basis. If I ask the same question, it can create a different pre-prompt, so a different output. So, plenty of things that I don't think they are. It's not I don't think, but I cannot know if it's really stable, if it's really a real basis that I can use as a permanent result. Okay, if the sentence at the end is not the same, but from where I am in my training, the result is not really the same each time I'm asking for a question. Just because the RAG won't create the same result. So my question to you will be, am I bad? Or is it just something I need to learn how to make it more accurate, more efficient?
So that I think like what's really important when you start developing any type of like intelligence system is that you have a KPI, you have a target. What do you want it to achieve? And then you have a way of measuring it, because otherwise it's very subjective, you know, are you there or not? Am I actually making improvement or no? And I think this is very important. And because then this when you have this, then you can just A/B test. You can just try out things randomly, and you know if it helped or no. This is very important. You can often in a environment of a lot of uncertainty, you just want to do experiments. Like I remember, like when I used to manage data science teams, like it was just endless experimentation. You know, it was not deterministic like normal software engineering. You know, we had an idea what we want, but then we just had to brainstorm ideas. You know, and but what enabled us to make progress and know if we make progress was that we did have clear metrics on what number we wanted to see improve. And I think it's like the pre-prompt, I think it will still be there. I like to talk about like context window, like with the cloud, and you know, we start to have really big context windows. We start to talk about million tokens. This is a lot of information that the RAG can. So it's a pre-prompt usually gives guidance to the model. It asks the model to avoid certain topics or talk in a certain way, use a certain tone, give input in a certain structure, use bullet points, don't have answer lengthier than this, don't refer to more than 3 RAG documents, like anything you can imagine. So that is there, but then what the RAG will give you is like put things to the context window so that it grounds the answer to the model, something that's factual, right? And I think there's like a lot of interesting development there. It's like you have like now the re-ranking models. It's like you fetch all kind of documents. There can be websites. They can be something from your vector database. It can be something that the user gave, and it will basically then compare the semantic similarity of the question and the document to see like which document is most relevant, right? So this is, I would say, like one really interesting technology. I think another one is the self-RAG. So
What is it?
self-RAG is that it doesn't really like retrieve anything. It's more like it's like a fine-tuning method that it enables the LLM to output these type of tokens that will tell if the context is relevant. So it's very similar. You can think it's similar to the GAN type of models that you use to generate. So like this adversarial network. So you have basically how this image generator work is that you basically just generate noise. So basically nothing. And then someone is saying like, okay, which of the noise is bad and good, and like says like, and until you get into a beautiful image. So it's a little bit similar concept that you have one model doing the generation and another one judging the other model's output. So self-rag is this, and it can really, I think it, if you know Daniel Kahneman's like thinking fast and slow, we have the system 1 and system 2 brain. System 1 brain is our intuition, the lizard brain, that helps us to react, but it also makes us do stupid things. And LLMs as they are a little bit like this. They just predict like from what they see, they just like immediately, what's the next word? What's the next word? Okay, but then I think like self-rag enables it to go a little bit more into the system 2 thinking. So the beauty of human mind for me is that we are not stuck in this singular train of thought like LLMs now are, but we can actually think about our own thinking. Right? Often when we say something stupid, what comes to our mind is like, what did I say? Like, why would I say something like that? So self-rag is exactly that. There's another LLM says like, what are you saying? That makes no sense, right? And it can use that to refine the output. Yeah, and I think it's then there's the system to attention. I think it's from Meta AI, so it's very similar, but it's just looking at the output or it's like it's looking at the context. So the retrieved context, and it just removes irrelevant things, so that where the model gets grounded by retrieving information to the context window, that there aren't irrelevant things there. So that then the actual model output that's based on what's retrieved by the RAG will be more accurate. And I think they got something like 15% improvement in results. So those are some interesting technologies or RAG technologies what I see. And it's really like, I think like this chain of thought reasoning is a little bit like models evaluating models. It's not really like a linear output anymore. It's like at first linear output is like generated, information can be retrieved, but I think we will go from not just like having the prompt retrieve information, write a response based out of that. I think we can also write a response and conclude that, hey, we haven't retrieved the right information after all, so we need to maybe go back to the internet or back to some other data source and fetch more, and then re-rank this, and that the model will actually kind of conclude that, okay, that it wrote like half a page and conclude that, hey, actually, we are not on the right track, and we might wanna do something else. And I think this will be the future of these systems, and we already see technologies enabling this becoming real and available.
Yep, yeah. There are plenty of things, plenty of technology, and just before you mentioned the vector database, and this is of course what I'm using because it's the more or less the default implementation of getting a token about the topic. But there are maybe 100, maybe 1,000, I don't know. And it's just about time and understanding of what you need and where you want to go with your LLM. So really a complex thing. Let's make something like 1 hour and a half that we are chatting. It's a lot of time, and I got plenty of other questions, but maybe, Jerome, if you have another one, I will let you the last word.
Well, for me, yeah, a good question. While you were talking, I was listening, continuing, but I was checking ProfoundGPT.
Yep.
And I was trying to one of the quote to solve problem, and I saw that they use Eisenhower matrix. So I guess you use it, you incorporated in it, and I think it's pretty interesting. So I encourage everyone to check and to try. I guess I will try more often because it looks very interesting. This kind of tools, how could I say, plugin, ChatGPT plugin. I don't know how we call it exactly. We can use for absolutely, so it's a real question I asked to myself, but this kind of tools we can use for absolutely everything, or just for very specific things?
So it's funny that you discovered it because I didn't mention it. So I like what ProfoundGPT is. It's a custom GPT, and this is a feature to Plus users from OpenAI, and it gives you enable to define your custom pre-prompt. So I've given it in all kinds of instructions on how to behave. It's, for example, it often asks you questions back. I wanted to make it more conversational, and I did mention that and it has a RAG, so you can attach documents it refers to. So I had I listed something like 150 thinkers that I like from all kind of disciplines, but this was the one thing. But the second thing is I listed roughly 50 mental frameworks that I personally have used at work or
Can you give one example?
to aid my own thinking. One thing is the Eisenhower matrix that you discovered.
Okay.
So I have also asked it to refer to that, and it's like basic mental models, like Pareto principle and SWOT analysis, like basic business school stuff. But like I've asked it to also like, okay, if any of these frameworks is actually a good solution to your problem, like try to propose the framework, and then it kind of like it should be able, or it should start then trying to help you apply that framework to your problem, then to get to an actual solution.
And so in this 150, 30 people, I don't know, I forgot. Can you take three you love particularly, like your top three?
Oh,
I saw there was Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah, so let's start with Marcus Aurelius. I've been very much into philosophy. When I was in gymnasium, I did all the possible classes. I have a little bit of regrets I didn't do that in the university, but I kind of missed out on Stoicism. But but Marcus Aurelius is one of the first Stoics, and has been a great inspiration in recent time to myself. So Marcus Aurelius, absolutely. Then I would want to highlight a modern entrepreneur turned into philosopher, so Naval Ravikant. I think I would say a very clear thinker and a great entrepreneur, just a great mind in general. And then I would then take a physicist and also a great thinker, David Deutsch, who is a little bit. So I can absolutely recommend his book, Beginning of Infinity. So David Deutsch is a little bit to quantum computing, but what Alan Turing was to classical computing. Yeah, and I think David Deutsch in his thinking he has taken the thinking of Karl Popper, who's like a philosopher of science in a way. So like not all things that are portrayed as science are not really like that solid in their reasoning. I think if you read about Karl Popper, he was really good at highlighting the issues with instructionalism and all kind of like ways we've had to do science that are not maybe that rigorous. And David Deutsch is like in a way advocating that and taking his thoughts a little bit further and maybe make them more approachable. So yeah, those would be the three.
I don't know the two other guys, but Marcus Aurelius. Alors, it will not be stoicism. Fancy, you can put stoicism on everything on the aspect of the life. But I read the book. I guess in English, the name is Meditation or something like this. For me, it's the perfect book the young people should read, and for people that are scared about death and everything, it's amazing book. And stoicism change many aspects of the life. And after you read this book, generally you will change your vision of the world. It's not a self-development book like we can read, etc. It's a really good view of the life and how to live. So
I agree. You know, like I think like the stoicism is like the thing is there's so world is fundamentally random, and we have while we can influence things around me, we never have full control. So most things that
Exactly.
come to us is not in our control, but what's fully in our control is how we react to things. And I think like all this conflict people have in social media, like someone wrote something and I'm so angry, like Marcus Aurelius would just ask, why are you so weak that this makes you angry? Like you don't, if you just decide
Why?
not to, if you have the mental strength not to get upset about this, then there's absolutely no problem. And I think in social media, this is the thing. It's like, hey, you say something upsetting, you can just scroll on, or you can close your computer and go outside, you know, just like, why hitch on to things that don't really matter? I think,
Exactly.
yeah. So completely agree. Yeah, there's a lot to learn from his thoughts.
So I guess it's very good. Just to finish about this profound GPT, it's very nice to incorporate this kind of thinker and not to put Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, etc. Maybe there is, but to have to put a kind of relief. I don't know how to say relief, perspective on the usage of these tools. So thanks for the tips and the share.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Personally, I would have said Donald Trump, but
Yes, I forgot.
it's not the same level from what you are saying. But
I-
yeah, thank you very much. Yeah,
I
go
can
ahead.
say Donald Trump is not one of the ones listed.
For sure, for sure. So thank you very much, Jérôme, for the question. Very good question for the last one. It's the end of this podcast, so I would like to ask you one thing, Stefan. Just the N word, if you get something to left on this podcast, if you would like to give a last word to the people, it's your time.
Yeah, I would say like don't be afraid of AI. It's now become very accessible. Try it for just assume that the AI tools we have already are capable of helping you with anything. And yeah, the more and in a more the more and the deeper you go with them, the better more you get out of them. So don't be afraid. Just become part of the change, and yeah, see if AI can actually make your life better for you, and therefore for all of humanity.
Yep. So thank you very much for this last word. From my side, I will switch in French because it's the advertisement moment of Cloud Mercato. So, j'espère que vous avez apprécié ce moment, que vous avez appris pas mal de choses à propos d'IA, à propos de Genesis Cloud, à propos de Stephen, à propos du rack, de tout ça, enfin plein de choses, et que aussi à propos de MemeGPT, bien sûr. Et je vous invite simplement à vous abonner, à lâcher un petit like par-ci, par-là, sur LinkedIn, sur YouTube, sur les plateformes de podcast. Et je vous dis tout simplement à la prochaine. Salut Jérôme et salut Stéphane.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Thank you very much. Ciao, ciao.